Hello, everyone. Okay, give me 1 second. Welcome to the live. I am just going to push this up just a little bit. Hi, welcome everybody. When you're coming in, say hello, where you're from. Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. If I'm good. Hi. Hello, hello. Oh, it feels so good to be live right now, you guys. Feels really, really good. Hello. Setting it all up. Okay. Can you guys hear me good? Hi from Holland. Welcome. So this is my next live Q&A that we're doing. Tuesday, September 10th, 4 p.m. Pacific. Here we are, ready to go. I got a quick message I want to share before I get into the... I'm having OCD with my camera right now, you guys. I'm sorry. I have a quick message I wanted to share from the Palladians who have been with me nonstop since the beginning of September. And as many of you know, I'm doing a journey on the 20th with them, a live group journey. Many of you have already signed up. And if you haven't signed up, you can sign up at the link below after this is over, or go check out another video and the link is underneath. But they've been so loud and so active with me. And they're here with us right now. So I want to share what came through about our human conscious shift through Ascension right now. I'm going to wait a few more seconds to let a couple more people come in. So many people. Gosh, I love you all so much. I just feel so much, probably because the Palladians are all around, but I just feel so much love for our journeys, our courage to just do what we're doing every now moment. It is really challenging for a lot of us right now, on a lot of different levels. And, you know, the biggest piece that we have a lot of challenge with as a human is compassion for ourselves and compassion for our unique journey and what we're going through right now. And it's kind of silly to say, like, well, why don't we have compassion? Seems like it would be an easy thing to have for ourselves, right? It's like, sure, I have compassion. It's like, no, the human doesn't really have compassion for themselves. The human judges themselves, compares themselves, critiques themselves, gets mad at themselves, yells at themselves. And we've all heard the saying that we're our loudest critic, right? And yet, why are we not our biggest lover? Why are we not our biggest cheerleader? Why are we not the ones that are like screaming, like cheering and jumping up and down and saying, you're doing an amazing job. You're a rock star. Keep going, like dive deeper, scream louder, cry harder, yell more, you know? And if you've been consciously going through this ascension, you are quite aware of these ups and downs. And there's no point in getting upset with yourselves, right? There's no point in beating yourself up, because you're going to come out of it. And then when you're out of it, you're going to sink back down, and then you're going to come out of it again. So why waste the energy on getting upset over it? The message that came in when I was sitting here meditating was, stop making it so complicated, humans. You know, that KISS, keep it simple, stupid, you know? They're like, you guys are complicating it. And I'm like, well, what do you mean we're complicating it? They're like, for instance, humans worry. They worry a lot. And when the human is worrying, they're in the future. The human's not in the present. Present moment, there's no worry. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And they're like, and there's a huge amount of guilt humans hold. They hold a huge amount of guilt. Guilt is being in the past. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like if you're guilty, if you're feeling guilt, or even sadness, they were saying, when you feel sadness, right? It's a lot of times it's from a past experience. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. But what about the healing and the clearing that the humans are doing? And they're like, that's separate, right? So when you're present, and a lot of you on this live and that are watching the replay are learning how to be more and more present, right? We're learning this. It's not easy. But when you're present, when you're in a now moment, anything that comes up is just, it just is in that moment, right? It's almost like it doesn't attach to a past or a present. It doesn't matter where it's coming from and what it's quote unquote attached to, what storyline it's attached to. The storyline might present itself if it's a trauma, right? Or if it's an argument, or if it's something that has just recently happened or happened years ago. There may be some sort of storyline energetically connecting you to that which is coming up in the now. But when you're experiencing it in the now, you're just allowing it to come up and be. You're not suffocated by it or connected or attached to it, right? But they're not talking about the clearing and healing that we're doing. They're talking about just the present moment experience of being human and how complicated we make just that. And they want us to just get conscious of how often we're in the now, how easy it is to be in the now, and how often we're not in the now, right? How often are we in our heads thinking about past and future, past and future, past and future, should have, could have, would have, right? And when you're doing that, they said, don't beat yourselves up. So be aware of the thoughts and what happens when you start beating yourself up because you're not in the now, right? And how annoying it is to try to be in the now. And it's like, well, I can't be in the now because I have children and this, and I have a life. And it's like, yeah, they get that. They understand that. But you can practice as often as you can, because eventually you'll find yourself in the now making sandwiches for your children. You'll be in the now paying bills. You'll be in the now driving to work. You'll be in the now at work, right? You can be in the now regardless of how big your life is. You can always be in the now. And when you're in the now, it gets a lot less complicated and it gets a lot more intense because you're feeling everything in that now moment, right? So just be aware of that. Just be conscious, right? I mean, one of the things that they always say to me, and I always teach, is like, consciousness is the biggest gift that we can give ourselves, because if you're conscious, then you can make a choice. If you're conscious, you can shift, right? You can make a choice as to how you're going to be in that now moment. Aside from the healing and the clearing and stuff that comes up, right? That's not a choice. That's a healing. That's a consciousness coming up saying, hey, this needs to clear out of you, right? The choice, I guess, in that moment is, oh, look what's coming up. I'm just going to allow it to be. I'm going to feel it through. Feeling it, boom. Feeling it, boom, right? So you do have a choice, I guess, through the trauma and the healing and clearing is, oh, it's coming up. Feeling it. Okay, done. Feeling it, done, right? But in your every now, when you're walking around, you have the choice to listen to the thoughts. You have a choice to choose a different thought. You have a choice to choose a resonance of how you're going to react and be with other humans. You always have a choice. And the more conscious you are, the more you can get clear on what you have been programmed to be doing and what you want to step out of. The programs, the paradigms, the ways in which you have been living, the ways in which you have been experiencing your life. How conscious can you get? The only way you have choice, the only way you start to become an empowered sovereign being, the only way you are able to be in higher dimensional fields is to recognize that you always have a choice in every now moment. There's no victimhood. No one's doing anything to you, right? You always have a choice. You're free. You're sovereign. You're a gift. You're a magnificent frequency and vibration navigating this density. And the more conscious you get, the more crazy it becomes, because you're now like turning the lens on, turning the bright lights on, and now you're looking at everything and going, oh my God, look at my thoughts, look at my beliefs, look at my feelings, look at my emotions, look at my now moment, my now moment, right? We go crazy. But that's okay, because we're practicing and learning how to get more and more conscious, more and more clear. That no thing is actually doing anything to you. So that's the message from them. Look at how complicated you make things And then love yourself through that. Have compassion for yourself. And can you make it simpler? Can you make it simpler? Ascension is not designed to be complicated. Activating DNA is not complicated. It's not your job. Ascension is not your job. You're not designed to sort of do it. It's naturally happening. Your job is to just flow with it, with no kind of, with surrender, right? Okay, I'm in. I'm strapped into the roller coaster. I'm just going to go. I'm going to learn. I'm going to get conscious, navigating it through conscious awareness, right? But when you try to do through the ascension process, then you're in control, which is ego, which is suffering, right? You start to find yourself suffering. If you ever find yourself suffering, struggling, resisting, those kinds of things with your now moments or any moment, it's usually the ego trying to come in and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you. I'm going to take charge. Right? And this is a natural process. It all happens naturally. But you're consciously aware. And the more you shift, the higher you go in vibrational field within your physical form, the more you naturally start to become more aware, and then more aware, and then more aware, and then more aware. Beautiful. Okay, let's go. Let's start with questions. All right. Thanks, Melanie. You're awesome as well. You guys, September energies. September, we know what August was. And September is a very kind of, every now moment is different for every individual. Every unique being is different, right? So know that, right? And there's a quantum field that we live in. So every now moment is not the same for every other now moment for every other being, okay? But there is an expanded field that we're sort of floating in, if you are tapping into it, that feels open and expanded. And there's a lot of work that you have done. There's a lot of work that you have done. And it's almost like we're in a resting space, even though a lot of you may not feel that way. It's almost like we're in a resting state, but in a more expanded version of ourselves. That's kind of what September feels like to me. It's like I'm in a resting zone. I'm not doing a lot of healing and clearing right now, but I'm in this expanded state that's just sort of floating down the river. I'm not in the rapids right now, right? It's like, thank God I'm not in the rapids right now. I don't know when the rapids are coming back, but right now I'm not in the rapids. I'm in an expanded state though. So what that says to me is, wow, Lori, all that work you did in August, all that healing, purging, clearing, rough ass time you had in August. Look at where you are right now. Look at where look at how you're feeling. So I share this because how conscious can you get of how you're feeling in every now moment so that you can recognize how far you've come, even a week ago, even 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Sometimes we get so consumed by the lower frequency times, the times where it's intense and it's challenging and it's hard for us, right? That when we step out of it, we're just so happy to be out of it that we may not even be aware or conscious of the resonance that we're now in. And that's how we are able to recognize, holy crap, look at everything I did the last 3 or 4 weeks that I was like struggling through, right? In the sense of like, oh my God, please, when is this going to end? And now here I am in an expanded state. I can feel the expanded state. How? Because I'm conscious of how do I feel? How do I feel right now? How do I feel when I'm engaging with people? How am I speaking differently? How am I making different choices? How conscious can you get so that you can applaud yourself on the back for where you are? You are responsible for your experience. You're responsible for your resonance. You're responsible for your reactions. You're responsible for your shifting. You're responsible for telling you how far you've come. Nobody else. You don't go pay somebody to say, hey, can you tell me how far I've gone and how far I have until I get to wherever I want to get? You are the one responsible for it. You are. Okay, let's get to questions. I'm just going to start with Ava. Ava, hi Lori, hi everyone. I have recently experienced a new energy. It presented itself right after I thanked the light beings for all their help. Was that their energy saying hello? I don't know. So if you're feeling a new energy, it's kind of like, well, what do you mean new energy? What are you talking about? Is it a new energy within yourself? Is it a new energy around you? Is it a new energy the moment you were talking to them? So when you are communicating and interacting with light beings, which are higher dimensional beings, it's very possible that you will feel energy around you. You'll feel vibration around you. You may feel like there's something in the room. Your body is going to resonate. Your body may get hot or cold, right? So I'm not exactly sure what you mean, Ava, when you say the recent experience you had with this new energy. I mean, I'm feeling new energy in the sense of an expanded state. So I'm not exactly sure. I can't quite answer that. I'm not sure what you mean. Reba, what works for meditation when my ego won't get out of the way? Okay, so this is how I do meditation, which, by the way, I don't do meditation that often and very well. But I do, I'll sit, right? And so here's what I do. Sometimes if I were to sit down and try to control my ego in meditation, it would drive me crazy. So what I do is I just sit and I just allow whatever is coming up to come up. So if my ego is getting loud, I'm just going to let the ego get loud. If a higher self is starting to come in, I'll listen to the higher self. If I have other things coming in, I'll listen to other things. If I want to quiet my mind, maybe I'll have some sort of soft music playing. Sometimes I'll have some sort of soft sound playing, which will quiet me. And it gives me a distraction or something to kind of focus in on. If you have a super active mind, there's good and bad things about quieting the mind in meditation. I have a firm belief, the way I do it, is that I don't want to quiet my mind because that's where my information comes in, my messages come in, everything comes in through my mind. However, you do want to quiet. You do want to quiet down all the activity of what's happening so that you can hear the higher self, right? Because the higher self is always communicating with you, but it has to get through all the other stuff that's rattling around, the to-do list and the things you didn't do, the things you have to do, right? So, I mean, my recommendation would be continuing to sit and just either let that stuff just happen, because eventually you'll quiet down. Eventually it will quiet down, right? And you'll start to hear other things. Or you can invite your higher self, your ego to sit next to you. Have the ego sit next to you. See if that works. Put the ego next to you. When I started learning how to channel a couple years ago, I would set my ego aside and literally be like, you're on a timeout. And then I would go in and start to do the meditation and I would quiet. And it helped. It worked because I believed it was working, right? And the ego was quieter. And I could do the channeling that I was designed to do. Everything comes in through the crown. So everything comes in through the quote unquote mind. All the noise, all the voices, everything's being filtered through the top here, right? So to quiet it completely and to escape out of the body and go into these altered states is great, except you're not going to receive messages necessarily. So if you don't want to receive messages, then just go into that, quiet everything, go into that expanded state and move out of the body. But as many of us know, ascension is in the body. Everything's in the body. You got to stay in the body. You got to ground into the body. And guess what? The ego's in the body. The loud voices in the head in the body, right? So you can't escape the ego. You got to learn how to navigate the ego through it all, right? And you might as well dig in deep within the dirt now and start navigating the ego through it all, through the meditation, right? Instead of trying to get rid of the ego, trying to get rid of it somehow. It's not going anywhere. The more you embody yourself, the more you get into the body, the more you're consciously moving through ascension, the more you're going to realize how freaking annoying the ego is and how you have to learn how to navigate it. My recommendation is you just sit down and just go with it. Just keep listening, don't just let it be, because you'll eventually start to hear other things. The ego will actually quiet down. It'll get bored. It'll quiet. Try it. Try that, Reba. Kimberly asked, a person from my past popped back into my life with intensity. Why does he show up during these waves? Okay, so a lot of times, I'm not exactly sure your personal experience, Kimberly, but a lot of times when we are shifting into higher frequencies, which means that we're clearing out density, depending upon what that density is that you're clearing out. Density equals consciousness. Consciousness equals experience that you've had on the outside, right? So you have an experience, it's consumed within the physical form through consciousness, and then it's filtered through emotions, thoughts, beliefs, right? So depending upon what is being cleared out during these massive shifts and portals that we're going through, you could be clearing out an experience or an emotional consciousness that is connected or tied to that individual, right? And so it's an opportunity for you to, or your higher self is giving you an opportunity to heal or clear this consciousness that's coming up from a perspective of it outside of you, right? So to show you what you're doing, to show you what you're clearing, to show you what you're healing, right? Almost like this is what we're giving you because we want to remind you of what you're clearing. This is what we're showing you, right? This person pops in and it's like, why is this person popping in again? What's going on here? You know, I thought I was done with this. And the higher self's like, look at how you're going to respond to this person. Look at how you're going to react to this person. Look at how different it's going to be, because we want to show you how you have shifted. We want to show you what you're clearing. We want to show you the work that you're doing. A lot of times when people come back into our lives, it's not necessarily because it's meant to be. A lot of times it's our higher self saying, hey, I want to show you what a rock star you are. Watch this, right? And boom, you're able to see growth. You're able to pat yourself on the back, right? You're able to see, oh my God, I didn't do it the same way as I did it 5 years ago, right? Oh my God, I don't resonate with that person anymore, right? I don't feel, now that's not to say that there's not going to necessarily be a chemistry, right? The physical desire perhaps, right? If it's somebody where you're having like a massive physical or like sexual desire, right? The hormones are like, or pheromones or whatever they're called are like going crazy. That is a separate experience from the consciousness that's clearing, right? So it's always something that the higher self is bringing in. And it's always to provide you with an opportunity to see where you are and the choices that you have, right? What choice are you going to make? How are you resonating? More than anything, how do you resonate? How are you resonating? I guarantee you, Kimberly, it's to show you where you are now. And if you can stay conscious with how you're resonating and how you're experiencing that person and how you are interacting, you will notice a shift. Many times that's why people come back into our lives. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, let's see. Allison, hi, I'm getting strong ringing, singing tones in one ear at a time or so. Does the left or right ear mean anything different? And is there anything I should be asking or doing when this is happening? I'm just tapping into that energy for a second, Allison. There's a couple different things that happen when the energies are, it's your physical form is literally, no joke, calibrating the frequencies. So your body is always anchoring the higher frequencies, right? So when you hear the tones, it's the body assimilating and anchoring the higher frequencies. So for one, you're shifting into a higher frequency. So when you hear the ringing, it's like you can imagine that it's like, oh, my body is anchoring, my body is assimilating higher frequencies. The other thing that's happening when you hear ringing sometimes is that you are connecting to higher frequencies around you, okay? And this could be the case for you, Allison, meaning, listen, you guys, there's there are so many higher dimensional beings around us all the time that we can't see, we can't feel, we can't hear. And if we all of a sudden shifted into a higher frequency and we're able to see, we'd be freaked out, right? So we'd kind of be like in shock, like, holy cow. There's so much energy and frequency around us, beings, all kinds of stuff. So there are moments when you are anchoring or when you are vibrating in a higher frequency than other moments. It can shift at any moment. You can be in a 3.8 and then a 3.6 and then a 4.2. I mean, you're always, that's why the ascension process is so wacky. So it's possible, Allison, that you are tapping into a higher frequency around you, perhaps an angelic being. So if you are, then you can ask in that moment, who are they? What, or like, if there's something that also, Allison, pay attention to what's happening during that time. Have you been asking for something? Have you been thinking about something? Have you been asking for direction or things like that, right? Because they're around you. So you're starting to tap into their higher frequency. You're starting to tap in, right? There's a vibration here. There's a really high frequency here that you can't see. Right? And then your energetic field is tapping into it. And then you're kind of, it's coming in and you're able to digest it through the sound. Right? If you think about people that do light language, right? They are doing the same thing, but it's coming out through the mouth as opposed to the ear. Okay? So when you do light language, you're both basically, what they're doing is the human is connecting to higher frequency energy, bringing it in, and then transcribing it out through tones. It's the same thing with ears ringing and things like that, different tones. So it could be the body or it could be you tapping into higher frequencies. Start asking questions. What were you doing just recently? Were you talking to somebody, some being? Were you asking questions? Were you asking for guidance? How conscious can you get of what was happening around you? Yeah, we're going to have a lot more ringing. A lot of times it can be the angelic realm. Can you ask star beings to help you increase your psychic abilities? You can ask star beings for any kind of assistance. You got to get real specific when you say psychic abilities. What do you mean when you say psychic abilities? Like whatever you're craving, whatever you're desiring, like, God, I really want to channel, or I really want to be able to see more, or I really want to, whatever gifts, quote unquote gifts, right? Gifts, they're not really gifts, they're innate abilities, but they're multidimensional abilities, and they're not hidden, but they are stored within the DNA. Okay. So, and every human has the ability to access it. So get conscious on what it is that you are desiring. So when you say psychic abilities, get more specific with them. Tell them exactly what it is that you are ready to step into. I'm ready to see more. I'm ready to hear more. I'm ready to receive, experience these beings more. I'm ready to channel, whatever it is. And then what happens with the human is when they ask those things, again, get conscious, because your body has to be able to hold those frequencies, right? So meaning that it has to be vibrating at a higher frequency than where you're at to access it, because they are abilities that are in a higher frequency than a third dimension. Okay, so the senses that we have right now, our ability to navigate this consciousness right now, is a low dimensional consciousness. It's a 3D sensory, right? So we see, feel, hear, all touch, taste. Those are all things that we do with third dimensional consciousness, with a third dimensional vibration and field, right? When you want to start accessing other sensories like clairsentience, claircognizance, clairaudience, these things where you can start to experience higher frequencies. Any of the clairs are abilities that allow you to experience higher frequencies, higher dimensional fields that are outside of the third dimension. And so in order to be able to access that within you, you have to be holding higher frequencies within you. You have to be able to, when you channel, you're bringing in a higher frequency. When you're hearing that information in the ear, the ringing, you're bringing in that frequency. So your physical form has to be able to say, yeah, I can pull that in. I can hold that, right? So it's twofold. As you ask, right? Those abilities start to turn on, whether it's in your pineal gland, whether it's in your throat chakra, whether it's in your heart center, wherever those gifts are going to be, right? And your physical form has to be ready to allow those frequencies to be pulled in by that innate gift. Okay, for instance, if you want to activate your third eye so that you can start to see higher frequency light around you or in the sky, right? When let's just say the third eye turns on, and all of a sudden you have the ability now to see those higher frequencies. What's happening is you're looking out through a third eye, through that higher dimensional sensory ability, and you are able to tap into that higher consciousness, that higher dimensional field, which then comes in and is filtered through that sensory system, and it comes into the physical form. Your physical form has to be able to hold that. It has to be able to anchor it. So just because you ask doesn't mean it's just going to happen. Your body has to be with you on this. Your body has to say, yeah, I can do this as well. So when you ask, be prepared to say, yeah, I'll clear what's coming up. I'll get angry. I'll be sad. I'll have all the emotions, right? I'll go through everything that I'm also being asked to go through. What the human wants is, hey, I just want to have all these fun experiences and I want to be able to have do all these things, but I don't necessarily want to do the work so that my physical body can anchor it. Because what we do is we look at humans that are already doing this, right? And we say, well, if they can do it, I can do it. That's absolutely true. Every physical human form is capable of doing all of these things because it's designed within the physical form to be able to do it. It's held within the light codes that the being drops in and brings in with them. We have the ability to feel these higher consciousnesses because we're going to be stepping into these higher consciousnesses. But it doesn't just turn on when you say, I want these things to turn on, right? Your physical form has to be able to hold it. Otherwise, you can't process it. So even if the third eye is turned on, you're not going to be able to see or process that if the physical form can't anchor it in. It all gets filtered through the physical form. So when you have an ear ringing, right? And there's a higher energy over here talking to you or speaking to you or communicating with you or around you, what's happening is you're holding a higher frequency in your form, right? And you're activating your clairaudience without you knowing. Your clairaudience is picking up on that. And your physical form is saying, I'm good, I can hold that. And all of a sudden, everything lines up and you're hearing that frequency. Okay? A lot of times when I do my group journeys, there's a variety of people that are on the call, and the Palladians or the Syrians or whoever comes in, right? Everybody has their own unique experience. Some people are hearing, some people are seeing, some people are feeling, some people are just barely kind of feeling heat. That means that the energy is kind of touching, right? But it's all based on their frequency that's held within their physical form and what their physical form can actually take, what they can actually handle. Okay, this was a very long answer to the question, but I think it's a really important question because we all want those abilities. We all want to have those psychic abilities. We all want to be able to see and feel and hear. And my answer to you is it's going to happen. It's going to happen, but you have to have patience and you have to be willing to do all the other work as well, right? You have to also understand that your physical form has to go with you on that request, right? So these beings of light that you ask, they're just like, sure, yeah. But what they're also saying is, hey, you know that density that keeps coming up, that anger, that rage, that sadness, that whatever, you got to clear that, right? or the way that you're being asked to speak up or to say these things or to get rid of that program, whatever's coming up, you got to do that as well, right? So you got to do all the work, not just, hey, I want the fun gifts for Christmas. You got to do all of it. You got to recognize that the body, and then you can say, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to prepare for that so that I can access those higher frequencies, so that these things can turn on, and on the flip coin, what ends up happening as you kind of clear out and start bringing in the body starts to anchor in higher frequencies more and more, what naturally happens is the light codes, psychic abilities, multisensories turn on without you even asking. And the more conscious you are, the more you're aware of it. The ringing in the ear, right? Maybe there's something that wants to come out of your mouth. Maybe there's writing that wants to be done because there's something coming through the writing, right? Maybe you're hearing things a little bit differently. Maybe you're feeling things differently. Maybe all of a sudden you're getting some random download and you don't even know what a download is. How conscious can you get in every now moment to recognize what's happening to you, right? So you can ask, but your body might not be ready, right? So you can have patience and continue to move through this process, and those abilities are just going to naturally turn on. Very long answer. But yes, you can ask star beings. Just know that you also got to be patient with the human form. So health coach MC, what do you do when you have negative ascension symptoms? Today is really tough. Headache, nauseousness, feeling 24/7 exhaustion, brain fog, burnout. First, health coach, you're not alone. We've all had that. Lots of us have had it. Lots of us may continue to have it. It's not negative. So you want to watch the words you use. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is because we want to get really conscious of how we are framing things. Okay. So for instance, listen, I get it, health coach. I understand it's not fun to have exhaustion. It's not fun to be nauseous, to have headaches. There's nothing fun about it. Okay. But here's what I've been doing the last couple of months with my ultra crazy up and down experiences. I'm framing it in this way. I look at it as, this is what is coming up. This is the gift. It's not negative. It's not bad. It may not be fun. It's not negative or bad. What it is it is an ability for me to be able to step into a higher frequency when I'm out of this now moment. When I come out of the exhaustion, say this to yourself, health coach. When I come out of this exhaustion and this nausea and this headache, which is just my physical form, assimilating, anchoring, and moving all those higher frequencies around, clearing out the density. When I'm done with that, I'm going to be finding myself in a little bit of a more expanded state. Maybe not a massive, of course, we always want to be in a more expanded state than we are, right? But I'm going to be in a more expanded state. That's the only reason why this is happening, right? So how are you framing it? This is for everyone. How do you frame it? How are you looking at it? Because when you can start to look at it as, first of all, it's going to shift and change no matter what. It's not stagnant. Nothing's stagnant. And second, this is an absolute freaking gift. Thank you, God, for coming here. Thank you, God, not God coming in, but thank you, God, headache, exhaustion, nausea, vertigo. Thank you. I'll do what I need to do to rest because I know that this is going to be shifting me into the next expanded state, the next highest version of me. This is an absolute truth, health coach. This is ascension. This is how it works. So you can more gracefully move through it when you are framing it in a way that is like expanded. I don't have to love this. In fact, I'm going to have all my human emotions around it. But I'm going to frame it and I'm going to know that this is actually an absolute gift because I know that when I come out of it, I'm going to be in a more expanded state. This is for anything, you guys, healing, emotions that you don't like, physical symptoms that are dragging you down, massive amounts of exhaustion where you can't get up and go to work, right? These things that are really human frustration, right? can you start to also see it? Because there's always a flip side, right? Can you start to see it as the natural process of ascension where you are not in control? You're strapped into the roller coaster and you're saying, all right, I'm in for the ride, and I'm going to trust that in every now moment, whatever is showing up, it is always unequivocally, no matter what, shifting me into the next highest version of me, because I am consciously and courageously choosing to move through the ascension. Nothing is happening to any of you that will negatively pull you away from consciously shifting into the next highest version of you, regardless of what it looks like or feels like right now. That is truth. That is very challenging for us to trust sometimes and believe. But you are consciously and courageously doing this. And it's not always rose-colored glasses. But I'll tell you one thing, when we are in the expanded state like I am the last couple of days, it feels amazing. And I would never take away the negative or shitty, crappy, horrifically exhausting moments that I had, because had I not gone through those the last couple of weeks, I would not be in the expanded state that I'm feeling myself in. I would not be having the conversations that I've been having with people. So reframe it. And I love you, health coach, and you're not alone. You're not alone. How do you find your life purpose? Well, two things. You find your joy, you follow your resonance, and you trust that it's inside of you and it's not out there anywhere to find. It's not out there. It's inside here. Your purpose, your divine mission, whatever you want to call it, it's inside. It's inside here. It's not out there. I had a client session today, and the beings that came in were these really high 28th dimensional beings. And she wanted to know what her work was and what she was supposed to be doing and how to do it. And they continued to tell her to come back into her, to love her more, to have compassion for her more, to listen to how she talks to herself, to the light of who you are is your work. When you connect to that light, you will know exactly what you're here to do, right? So you have to come inward and listen more and listen more and listen more. Your higher self will guide you directly into it, right? And when I say directly into it, the action of it is outside of you, but the internal resonance and knowingness is inside of you. The action of it, the way it's going to be, is outside of you. So my suggestion, who asked that, Tiffany, is to not worry about what it is, okay? My suggestion would be, how close can I get with my higher self? How much do you know that you already have your purpose inside of you? How do you know that you're holding it, right? That's what they said to the client today. Put your hands out, and we're going to give you this massively huge, oversized, weighted down book. And this is your work. This is what you're here to do with humanity. This is actually inside of you. These are codes. These are frequencies. This is energy. This is what you brought in. Here it is. It's actually inside of you, but you're holding it. So first and foremost, do you know that? Do you believe that? Do you have the absolute 100% knowingness that that's inside of you? That's the first step, because her answer initially was, yeah, of course. And then we dived a little deeper, and it's like, well, maybe not, because I'm not doing it fast enough, or I don't know how to do it. And, and all these different things came in. It was like, okay, good. How honest can you get with how you're feeling? So when I first stepped into my work, I was holding this, and all this was, oh, I'm here to help with the ascension. That was it. Nobody gave me a playbook. No one said, okay, you're going to do all these things. This is what you're going to be doing in the world. You're going to be channeling, and you're going to be doing these classes, and you're going to be doing these sessions, and this is what it's going to look like. No one said that. I knew that I was here to work with the ascension. That's all I had. right? And so what did I start to do? I did my normal everyday job. I worked in private equity. I taught yoga, but I always held the knowingness that this is what I was doing no matter what, right? And then I started to just practice connecting, because my joy, my truth, my resonance was, oh, there's beings that want to connect with me. So Tiffany, get clear on you. The more you can connect with your higher self, the more you're going to be able to hear what it is that is innately inside of you that wants you to do what it is that's going to come next for you to do. You've got to start to get a stronger relationship with higher self, not ego. Get a stronger relationship with higher self. Every one of us has our blueprint within us of what we're here to do on the planet. It's inside. Just like those light codes that are going to activate, right? Your divine blueprint is inside of you. And it's not always what you're expecting or what you're thinking. So you want to find the resonance. You want to find what it is that you're feeling called to do. And the only way to do that is to go inward, to listen, to have conversation with your higher self. Bring your higher self out and have a conversation. Like, that's the other thing they told this client to do. Start to bring your higher self outside of you as if it's another person sitting at the dinner table, and start to have a conversation with your higher self. Your higher self knows everything. Your higher self will guide you straight in. You just got to get real familiar with your higher self. It's a lot about, when you're in the energy or consciousness of, I want to do this, 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 then you're in the consciousness of, I want to do something, as opposed to, I am doing it. I am doing it. It's inside of me. I am doing it. I'm doing it now. I'm doing it today. Everything I do is taking me one step closer to it. So state that, know that, say that, post it on your wall. I am doing my service work. I'm doing my service work. Every day, pray or intend or meditate to walk me into my service work. Commit 1,000%, and I guarantee you'll walk into your service work. It's just like when someone says, I want to know what my psychic abilities are. If I ask the star beings, will they just give me psychic abilities? You got to commit to it, right? So that means whatever else is coming up, in order for you to be able to have those abilities, you got to go through it. Same with purpose work. You got to commit 1,000%. And whatever comes up and whatever is asked of you, and whatever your guides want you to do, whatever your higher self wants you to do, you just keep saying yes. Stepping into purpose work is not easy. It's graceful, but it's not easy, right? So you've got to commit. Every day, I'm stepping into my work. Okay. What's next? Sorry. Why do we have the ego? So the ego was originally designed when we were in a 5D consciousness. So when the earth was in a 5D consciousness and the human form was designed in a 5D consciousness, we had an ego put in place. It's an energy. It's a consciousness. So it vibrates at a consciousness level, right? Just like the higher self does. And the ego is designed, it's a structure within the human form that's designed to keep the physical human, the physical body, safe in all the consciousness that it's going to be walking around in. So it's a safety measure. It's like, okay, you're not going to want to jump off that cliff. You're not going to want to eat that piece of fruit. You're not going to want to push yourself really hard against that wall. Things that you think are common sense, right? The ego is designed to keep the human safe in the physical form. That's what it was originally designed to do. When the human shifted down into 3D, the ego shifted down into a 3D consciousness, and it became a mechanism that was then controlling the human in a much more intense way. Partly because we are in a much more volatile consciousness. 3D consciousness is much more volatile in the sense that there is a massive amount that you can experience, from killing to loving and everything and anything in between. And so the ego all of a sudden was on overdrive. It went overly active in protecting you, right? And it went into massive overdrive control. And so it's almost like running 10 times at the speed at which it's supposed to be running right now in 3D. So that's why we are learning to quiet it, bring it back down a couple levels. That's why you don't ever want to get rid of your ego. Your ego is always there. It's designed that way. It was designed by higher dimensional beings. You don't get rid of it. You just want to remind it that it doesn't need to be in control in the way that it has learned to control in the 3D, because the ego has always wanted to keep you safe. The ego is a beautiful, loving part of you that just wants to keep you safe in all of this chaotic consciousness. So you got to love the damn thing, right? But it's not serving you when you shift into higher frequencies, because again, when you're in a 5D consciousness, it is the higher self that's guiding you, and it's the ego that's just keeping you safe. Hey, you don't want to jump there. Hey, you don't want to put your hand in that pot. Hey, things that you think are common sense is ego. It's just safety. The higher self is the one that moves and guides you. Please address anxiety and panic attacks during ascension process. Okay, so this is a really good question, Patila. This came up in a session the other day, and so I want to talk about it. So sometimes when we are anchoring in higher frequencies, it can feel like panic attacks. I'm not saying that that's what's happening to you, but a lot of times what the human confuses panic attacks with is the body anchoring down into higher frequencies. And it's learning, you as the kind of human awareness person is learning what higher frequencies feel like in the body. And so when you get massive jolts of high frequency energy in the body and you're actually feeling it, your heart rate's going to go up massively, so fast you're not going to be able to control your heart rate. You're not going to be able to, you're going to feel really out of sorts. You're going to feel out of control. You're going to feel like you can't think. You can't make sentences, like almost like you're losing your mind. Nothing's making sense. It feels very freaky when you're first learning what it feels like to really hold or be in expanded states, because you're not used to it yet. So it feels like anxiety. It feels like nervousness. And I'm telling you this because I used to feel that a lot. And I've done a lot of videos where I'm like, I have a lot of energy going into me. I'm holding a really high frequency. I'm having a hard time breathing. Right? And it would be really hard for me to catch my breath. So that is one way to view anxiety and nervousness as you're moving through the ascension process. I don't know if that's what's occurring for you, Patilia, excuse me for totally butchering your name. I don't know if that's what's happening for you, but that is what happens. And then the human labels it as anxiety or nervousness. So start to get aware of, is this really anxiety and nervousness, or is this my body starting to feel into and hold higher frequencies and expand into higher frequencies? So just start to get conscious of that. If you actually experience anxiety all the time and it's not about higher frequencies, anxiety is a coping mechanism. Or a defense mechanism, not a defense mechanism, it's more of like a coping mechanism. It's a way that you have dealt with experiences in your life, and it almost like it becomes mechanical. It's like, and you're not doing it yourself. It's not like you're choosing to be anxious, right? But it's a mechanism that started at some other now moment in the past from an experience. And you learned that this is what happens, this is what you do, this is how you respond when you are in situations that are similar to the first experience you had that initially created that response in the human body, right? So something happened, your human body freaked out, you started to have a lot of heartbeats, right? Your heart went up, the heat, you got a lot of hot flashes and heat, maybe you just kind of like couldn't function at all and you froze. I mean, whatever that looked like, right? Based on that one experience. And then you learned, oh, this is what happens to me when I'm confronted with these kinds of experiences. It becomes a pattern or a program unconsciously, right? So you want to break it. You want to get clear that this is what I've been programmed to do. This is what happens when I'm confronted with these experiences because of what happened from the very first experience. And so if there's a lot of anxiety that continues to come up, it's coming up to assist you in clearing it, right? I can choose not to have that anxiety. Okay, how do I choose not to have anxiety, right? Well, I get conscious of when I'm having anxiety. I get conscious of what happened right before the anxiety attack, right? If nothing happened right before the anxiety attack, what's happening in my mind before the anxiety attack, right? There's always something energetically that turns that anxiety attack on. The human thinks sometimes that it just happens out of the blue. Something triggers the anxiety attack on a conscious level, on an energetic level. Anxiety attacks don't just turn on. Anxiety attacks are triggered by a consciousness. They're triggered by something, okay? You're either aware of it or not aware of it, which is why being conscious is so important as you're ascending. Is this anxiety attack caused by something that just happened? Is this anxiety attack because I am feeling higher frequencies? Or is this anxiety attack happening right now because of something I just recently thought? There's something boiling up that I'm trying to ignore. What is triggering that response within me on an energetic level? Remember, everything's energy. It's all energy. Okay? So anxiety attacks are just a response to some sort of energetic consciousness, whether it's outside or whether it's inside you. So you want to get clear on what's happening energetically. You're becoming the observer. You're not the victim, right? And they're debilitating. But as you start shifting into higher states of consciousness, you start to recognize, wait a second, I can look at this. I can be conscious of this. I can be the investigator, the scientist. We're not victims. We're not just, oh shit, I have anxiety. No, what's happening here? It's energy. It's energy. It's energy. It's my natural response that I've created because of whatever happened 28 years ago, 45 years ago, 72 years ago, 12 years ago. I learned how to have that. Young children learn. It's a response. And then all of a sudden the body just naturally starts to do that every single time. Okay, let's see. Let me see. Hello, where are we? Okay. What was the question that Synth asked that people are talking about a science and spirituality? Let me go find it, you guys. Hold on. Let me go find it. There it is. I found it. Sorry, you guys. I don't mean to skip over certain questions. It's just sometimes I don't see them. Okay, so my career was technology. Do I throw science, technology out the door and just go full spiritual? Can't figure out how to mix science with spirituality. It's actually a really great question. Listen, there's a lot of different paradigms that you can play in, okay? Science is going to be an absolute gift for those of us that are moving through the ascension process because there are humans that are designed to be in the scientific community to show what's happening on an energetic level. Okay? So science isn't bad. Science isn't not spiritual. You know, when you start to have these like linear ways of seeing things, you want to be aware of that, right? Like as if there's a choice. It's either spiritual or science, right? No such thing. It isn't separate, right? From a third dimensional perspective, it can be very different, right? There's a lot of scientists that don't believe in the energetic experiences that a lot of us are having, right? They sure as heck don't believe in light beings, right? So there is that separation from the third dimensional perspective, but from a higher perspective, there's no separation in this, right? They both just are. They're just experiencing themselves. And what's going to start to happen, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of humans on the earth plane that are designed to work in the spirit, in the scientific community, to be able to shift that community, to be able to do what we're all doing here, but from a scientific perspective, right? So if you are in the scientific community and you don't want to be in the scientific community anymore, then get out of the scientific community, right? If you're in the scientific community and you like being in the scientific community, you can be spiritual in any community that you're in. You don't separate out of just because you're spiritual. Spiritual isn't even spiritual. You're just being consciousness. You're just being consciousness. And you're shifting consciousness. That's it. Again, let's keep it simple, right? When you start saying spirituality or trying to be spiritual or whatever that is, then you're creating separation and it's getting complicated. So if you don't like where you are, the environment you're in, get out, go find an environment you like, right? If you like the environment you're in, can you blend it? Why can't we blend? Why can't we take both? Why can't you have a spiritual person, quote unquote spiritual, which is somebody that is consciously aware of light beings, consciously aware of their own light being that came into the form, consciously aware of the fact that the earth is shifting, the human is shifting, the earth is already in 5D, right? Why can't you have that and hold that and still be in a spiritual, scientific community? I don't know. Just a question. Just a question. But, you think about I always bring Jesus up, but it's like you think about somebody like Jesus, and he didn't not go into certain communities because he didn't believe in them, right? Or believe what they thought, or believe what they were saying, right? So you want to try to hold that perspective of, if you're not enjoying and you're not enjoying it, then get out. But if you're enjoying the field, somewhat enjoying it, right? Don't necessarily believe it as your truth, but you're enjoying it, then learn to be in your truth in the midst of all these other humans that don't have that truth. Learn to hold your truth and your sovereignty in a field where people don't believe that, right? Learn how to navigate that. Perhaps that's why you're there. Perhaps that's why you're finding yourself in that situation. I'm not exactly sure, but I wouldn't throw science out the door. I would get conscious of science, right? I would get conscious of the paradigms in science. I would get conscious of the closed off, boxed way of being in certain scientific communities. I would get conscious of scientific communities that are starting to expand into what we would consider the spiritual realm, right? Energy, consciousness, the brain, cells, stem cells. I mean, there's so much that is waking up in the spiritual community. In the scientific community. Again, bringing it back to consciousness, right? Like, the more conscious you are of how someone's being in a scientific space and how you want to be in that scientific space, the easier it will be. There's a lot of light workers, especially starseeds, that are here to work in that community, that are here to work in the scientific community to help us have proof that what we have been doing for so long is actually real. Right? In a 3D consciousness, we need proof. And we need to see things, tangible proof. We, not you and I, but a lot of humans, right? And so there's a crap ton of starseeds that have dropped in to bring forth higher dimensional technologies, advanced technologies, to allow us to understand more and to feel confident that what we have been doing blindly, there's actually scientific proof to it, which who cares? You know, it's all energy. And if you can feel it, then that's really all that matters. And even if you can't feel it, you keep going until you can feel it. So if you're in that situation, Cynthia, then there must be a reason for it. So it could be that you're there to just share what you know. It could be that you're going to be able to navigate a different way of doing things in that community, a different perspective. I'm not exactly sure, but there's a way to mix it. And as we continue to shift, it will become more obvious for us how to blend that together. You don't want to separate it, even though it's hard sometimes to watch the spiritual community, the scientific community. You're like, oh my God, that's so old school. You know what I mean? All right, where are we next? Where are we next? Corinne, since a month, I have eczema in the hands, particularly on the little fingers. It's healing, then comes again. Do you think it could be some clearing, some ascension symptoms? I don't know. When people ask about like physical things that are coming up, is it ascension symptoms or what is it? I don't know. I would just do what you feel called to do. So if you feel like you need to go to the doctor and get it checked, go to the doctor and get it checked. If you feel like you need to put some medicine or lotion on it, then do that. Is it ascension symptoms? I'm not sure. It could be, and it may not be. Right? I think a lot of times if it's almost like either way, it doesn't matter. You want to just allow it to heal, right? And be with it. So if it wasn't, would you look at it any differently? Right? If it is, would you look at it any differently? So I don't know. It's really up to you on how you resonate with it. It's hard, I think, for somebody else to tell you. I mean, there are a lot of ascension symptoms, you know, that a lot of humans experience, right? That are pretty common. But then there's experiences like that I don't know. And if I haven't experienced it, I'm sure the heck not going to tell you what I think, what my opinion is. I have no idea. I don't have an opinion. You know what I mean? Okay. Oh, great, Kimberly. That's awesome. Yeah. A lot of times, Kimberly's the one that asked about the person coming in that was intense. A lot of times it's to show us. It's our higher self saying, did you forget that you are a rock star? Did you? You forgot you're a rock star and that you're nailing this, because we don't realize, you know, until you have a conversation or until you're put into a situation where you're like, oh my God, I did it so differently. I'm amazing. I'm amazing. Okay. What else do we have? We got to trust our higher self. If you're not a starseed, what are you? Okay. If you're not a starseed, what are you? Okay. So first of all, how do I begin this? Every human form has a higher consciousness that dropped into that form. Okay. What we label a starseed is a specific type of purpose, basically, for coming into the human form. Okay. And a lot of times the starseed holds a higher amount of their light when they're coming in, so that they can get activated and do the work that they're here to do, which is typically in a higher frequency. So a starseed is a light being or a consciousness that is holding more of their light inside the physical form, that is most often here to do the work they came here to do, which is in a higher frequency. So sometimes it can take a while to turn on. Sometimes it turns on through Kundalini awakening. Sometimes it turns on through some sort of massive sort of traumatic event. Sometimes it doesn't turn on for a very long time. It all depends on what that consciousness decided to do in their human life, in their third dimensional life. Many other when they're a light worker, right? And then there's millions of other light workers that have played many different types of roles on the earth plane for thousands of years or hundreds of years. And they also are consciousness from a higher frequency that dropped into human form. Every other human that isn't a light worker and that isn't a way shower is a higher consciousness that dropped into the human form, but that did not choose to assist Earth or humanity. They didn't want to actually kind of work. They wanted to participate on the earth plane, have a life, experience this consciousness, do whatever it is they're going to do. These humans have the ability to move through ascension if they want or not. There are many light workers that haven't woken up in this lifetime that may not wake up and move through the ascension process. Totally okay. Every light being has free will. Every human has free will. So if you're not a starseed, there's 1,000 other types of light worker that you could be. You could be a light worker that came in 15,000 years ago, right, for the first time. You could be a light worker that came in 10,000 years ago. You could be a light worker that came in 500 years ago. You could be a light worker that came in, and this is your one and only lifetime, right? But every human has a higher consciousness, beingness aspect in the human form. Every human. Every being, every animal, plant, tree, insect. It's all, you can't be on the earth plane without being a higher consciousness in that form. That's the whole purpose of earth, is to experience it from a higher frequency in a dense physical form. So a starseed is just a label we put on to a specific type of light being that is coming in at this now moment to assist humanity as we are shifting into higher frequencies. So they do a lot of work in the higher frequencies. They guide us into the higher frequencies. They teach us about the higher frequencies. They are pulling in advanced technologies in the higher frequencies, right? A lot of their work as a light worker is in those higher frequencies. I hope that made sense. I tried to sum it up fast. Not so fancy Nancy. Let me know if that made sense. And I love your name. Not so fancy Nancy. Okay, what else do we have? My dog keeps staring at the wall like he sees something. I stare at the wall a lot like I'm seeing something. Yeah, so he probably is. A lot of times when I'm pulling in information, I look out because I'm pulling it in. And so sometimes it's if the dog or the animal or something is kind of staring out, then they're picking up higher frequencies around them. They may not actually see it, right? But they're picking up other frequencies around them. Okay, so currently trying to integrate my spirituality with an upcoming major medical operation. Want to trust that I can get through the Western medicine. Lisa. Okay, this is great. This is a good example of like, hey, listen, sometimes we need Western medicine. Sometimes we got to go to the doctor. Sometimes we need to get worked on, right? You know, I had a client that was like, I have to now have my kids vaccinated and I don't want to do that because I'm being forced to do it, right? So sometimes we have to do things that we don't want to necessarily do. So again, this is about how are you going to frame it, Lisa, right? So you're in charge of how you're going to experience that reality. You're going to create it, you're going to design it, you're going to be in it, and it's going to turn out the way you are stepping into it, right? So you're going to hold the knowingness that it's going to be great. You're going to hold the knowingness that you're surrounded in beings of light. You're going to hold the knowingness that these beautiful doctors are also beings of light. They're not just robots, that they're going to do the best that they can, that with your best intentions. You're going to walk in with a playbook of how this is going, because you are a sovereign being. You are a high frequency light being. You are in control of your experience. You're in control of everything. Nobody's victimizing you or telling you how it's going to be, right? And so you get to step in with your playbook. You're stepping into the game. How do you want it to look? How do you want it to play out, right? You know, there was that woman said, I don't have a choice. I'm going to have to take my child to get vaccinated. And I said, listen, that's a doozy, right? Because when you're forced to do something, especially to your child, when you don't want to, how in the hell do you go through that? And what these beings said to her was, hold the knowingness. And this is very challenging, but this is what we are asked to do as we step into higher frequencies while we are still in a third dimensional consciousness. Hold the knowingness that your child is okay. Hold the belief and the knowingness that the vaccination is not going to harm your child. If you step into that doctor's office with the fear of, oh shit, I'm angry, I'm upset, I don't want them to do this. They're injecting him with this, they're injecting him with that. He's going to feel this way, he's going to feel that way. That is the play. Great playbook. Why would you want to walk in with that playbook? Why? That's the playbook you want to walk in with? No, I want to walk in with the playbook that says, I don't care what the paradigms and programs say around the vaccinations. I now no longer have a choice. So I better create the reality right now that I'm going to create, and I'm going to choose, because I'm a conscious sovereign being that has the ability to choose in every now moment how my world is going to be. Okay, I'm going to walk into that doctor's office. I'm going to remember that those doctors are light beings and they're just doing their thing. So I'm not going to take it out on them. Please bring me into my heart so I can love them just a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to visualize and know that my son or my daughter or my child is okay, bathed in light, bathed in all the angels that I could possibly bring into that room. And the injection that goes into his butt or his arm or his leg is filled with love and light, and not thinking about what everybody around me is telling is going into him. Create it. Make it happen. It's your world. It's your paradigm. It's your consciousness. It's your playbook. When you start to believe that, that's how you live your life. Becomes much more expanded, and you're much more free. You have a choice. You can play in that paradigm, especially if you're now forced to be in that paradigm. Switch it. Switch it. Insomnia, Denise. Yeah. So when I was going through my, and I still have insomnia sometimes. So there's a lot of different reasons for insomnia. I would be doing a disservice if I were to tell you why you have insomnia. I'm not sure, but I can tell you about insomnia with regards to the ascension path, right? I know that there's also hormonal reasons for insomnia. There's a lot of physical reasons for insomnia, a lot of mental reasons for insomnia. There's so many reasons for the human to have insomnia. But if you're consciously moving through the ascension process and you're having insomnia, a lot of times when your body is integrating and assimilating high frequencies, you won't sleep. And what I've learned to do during those nights where it's like, oh, I'm having one of those nights where I'm not sleeping. I'll go to bed at 4 and then I'll wake up at 6, right? Or I'll go to bed at 4 and then I'll sleep until 8 or 9 and be exhausted. But if I'm having a night where it's this is a night where I'm not sleeping, right? I don't toss and turn with frustration. I did that in the beginning. I did that for months because there were periods in my ascension path where there were months where I wasn't sleeping. I couldn't sleep at night. And years ago, I would take sleeping pills prior to me consciously moving through the ascension process. I stopped doing that because I didn't want to put anything in my system, because my belief was that it wasn't good. Now, if I held the belief that the sleeping pills were good and fine for me, I could take them, but I don't hold that paradigm. Nothing wrong with them, but again, it's your choice and what paradigm you want to believe in. So I learned how to just move through the frustration of the toss and turn, toss and turn, toss and turn. And what I can say now is that I would say once a week, maybe a couple times every 2 weeks, I'll have nights of insomnia. And I know for me, what it is it's my body anchoring in and assimilating higher frequencies. And so there's a lot of energy moving through my body. And so I'll stay up and watch a movie, I'll write, I'll just sit. Sometimes I'll just lay. I won't fight it. Because if I fight it and get stressed and angry and frustrated, it just makes it worse. It makes it worse. So that's what I would what I would say about insomnia. Be compassionate and patient. It's hard. Insomnia is really challenging. If you need to take some sort of supplement, I know a lot of people that do take cannabis oil or something, but it can definitely be related to the ascension journey for sure. I used to sleep like a baby until I started moving through the ascension path. And then all hell broke loose. In my awakening, my final awakening, you guys, this is probably a year and a half, okay, of night sweats that were so bad that it was like I had to take the sheets off and put new sheets on. My clothes were soaked. I'm talking every single night. And my legs hurt so bad because of the energy that was moving through them. It was torture. I would get up in the middle of the night and scream because I couldn't sleep and I couldn't get the energy out of me. It was so painful on so many levels. And it was a nightmare to go to bed because it was like, what am I going to go to bed for? So I can sweat like a freak and then have all this energy moving through my legs so that it's painful and toss and turn and want to get up and scream. A year and a half of that. So, insomnia and sleeping is a massive part of the ascension path. Because why? The body is acclimating, assimilating, and anchoring higher frequencies. And when we are trying to sleep and settle down, that is when we really can feel what the body is doing. And it allows the body to really do a lot of work in the dream state, meaning that the body can anchor and acclimate more when we're not moving around and doing all kinds of stuff, The body has the peace and quiet. Major skin irritation. Could be energy, could be light, could be frequencies. I don't know. I don't have it, so I don't know. But you guys are not the first time. This isn't the first time I've heard that. The skin stuff. So there's probably other people that have had that experience that know what it's about and that can explain it better. If you know what I mean. Faye, I answered that earlier. How can we find our purpose or path? So just go back and listen to the recording of this. I answered it a little bit. What else? What else do we have? Let's see. Some souls have only incarnated on Earth. What are those symptoms? Lee, I don't know what you're asking. What symptoms? Where are we going? Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. I'm just taking a moment to read. Sorry. Karmic cycles are finished. So, yes, karmic cycles, when you start to shift into higher frequencies, you start to recognize that there is no karma. That, especially karmic cycles, like you have to do something because of a past life, or you have to do something this lifetime to clear another lifetime. I'll give you a quick example of past lives. from a higher perspective. First of all, the reason that we are connected to past lives and we feel as if we have to clear or heal past lives, which is a beautiful paradigm, totally part of this third dimensional consciousness. But we're going to start to shift out of it. And the reason is because when you move yourself into the physical form and you drop down into the earth, there is an electrical grid system that goes out, and it connects you to it's a quantum sort of grid. So when you drop in, it's almost like you come back into the human suit and you start to energetically connect to this grid that goes out, that's connected to the entire earth experience that you've had. And you start to connect, if you're conscious and you're vibrating at a high enough frequency, you start to connect to other lifetimes on an energetic level through cords, through grids. You connect, which is like a quantum train, right? A quantum grid system that's connected to the earth. And you start to tap into other lifetimes that you've had. Separate, sovereign, unique, different, not in your now. But because you are energetically connecting to it, what happens is that the human believes that what happened in that past life, they are experiencing within them. They feel it. Just like when you are an empath and you're standing in front of someone and you're having an experience back and forth, and it's a really strong, energetic kind of experience, and you walk away, you feel as if you are now holding that energy inside of you. It doesn't work that way. It's you have an energetic field around you. It feels like it's inside of you and needs to be purged out, but really it's just tapping up against your energetic field, but it's so intense, it feels like it's inside of you. So when you connect to a past life, what is happening is that you are energetically feeling that past life and experiencing it, and it feels like it's inside of you, in your actual physical form. And it's not. The only thing that is inside of your physical form consciously that needs to be healed or cleared is whatever you consumed in this now lifetime. You only clear and heal consciousness that you experienced in this now lifetime. Now, there are memories and experiences that you are tapping into energetically through this energetic quantum grid. So you can go and look at these lifetimes and you can be like, oh my God, I had these amazing gifts. I had these amazing abilities, right? In that lifetime. And you can activate those gifts, right, through those light codes in this lifetime, right? Or you can say, oh my God, I was murdered and killed and all these horrific things happened to me, right? And you can come into this lifetime and be thinking about that lifetime and thinking, oh my God, that's why I can't speak. That's why I can't do these things. No, what's happening is either consciously or unconsciously, you're experiencing that other life, watching what happened to you and thinking, holy shit, she should have never spoken up. She should have never said those things, right? But when you start to get conscious of what you're actually seeing and experiencing and feeling, it is a completely separate entity. It's a completely separate aspect of you. It's not the you consciousness in this now lifetime, meaning it's the exact same light being, right? But it is having a completely separate experience that is sovereign, that doesn't need to be cleared or healed in any other lifetime at all. When you dropped into this now lifetime, you held a completely different Akashic record. When you drop into each now lifetime, you don't pull with you experiences to clear from past lifetimes. Consciousness doesn't work that way. Karmic cycles are third dimensional consciousness. Karma at all is third dimensional consciousness. It doesn't exist in higher frequencies. It doesn't exist as a higher dimensional being. You as a higher dimensional being don't think to yourself, oh, I did this thing over here. I now need to clear that or do it differently in this time. They live in the quantum. And what's the quantum? The past, that is then, and this is now. That is now, this is now. They don't look at past lives and say, oh, that's a past life that I now have to clear. That doesn't make any sense, because in a quantum space, everything's happening in every now moment, and it's all separate and sovereign. So the higher consciousness being that you are doesn't say to itself, oh, this happened in a past. I'm entering into a new life and I have to clear the past. It doesn't do that. Imagine that you're walking into a bookstore and there are 17 books in this bookstore and that's it. And each book is its own unique story. There's a villain, there's lessons learned, there's awesome experiences, traumatic experiences, whatever it is, okay? And that the character in there looks different, sounds different, you know, it's just a completely different character. However, the author of the book is the same. And every single book has the same author. It's you, the light being that you are. The light being wrote the book. But the character is different each and every time. And yet every book is not dependent on the next book. You can look at the other book and say, wow, look at the awesome shit I did in that past life. Look at the horrific crap I went through in that past life. And you can tap into it and you can feel it and you can you can have the emotion around it if you want. But from a much bigger perspective, it's a book on its own, having its own experience, and you're this book now, having your own experience. And there isn't a book that's created based on another book. It's all separate and unique. What story do I want to do this time? What story do I want to do this time? That's how higher consciousness looks at lifetimes. They don't look at lifetimes as connected energetically to clear and to cycle through. It's all unique and separate each and every time. When you start to shift into higher frequencies, this will start to make more sense because you start to step into a quantum space. And when you start to step into the quantum field, you start to understand that you're not connected or tied to anything energetically that you have to heal other than that which you actually consciously consumed in this lifetime. Healing and clearing is all about the consciousness inside of you. The only way consciousness gets inside of you is by experiencing it in your moment. You don't store DNA from a past life is not passed on, okay? Meaning that you aren't storing past memories in your DNA from other experiences. You are dropping in with new light codes every single time. Now, the genes, right? The physical genes of the parent, the mother, and the father, they hold patterns, they hold beliefs, they hold thoughts, they have, they're connected to a lineage, right? But your past life doesn't come along with you and with your quote unquote DNA when you drop into the next lifetime. It's done. When you step out of that life and you're done with that life and you decide that you want to create a new life, that life is done. It's done. You as a higher consciousness don't have even the concept of thinking, I'm going to pull with me and store within me that which occurred then. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense to us in a lower frequency, in a lower consciousness, because we complicate things. But from a higher frequency, it doesn't happen that way. This isn't to say that there isn't massively, powerful things that happen in people that are clearing past lives, right? It's just that on a bigger perspective, that's actually not what's happening. But it helps people, so keep doing it. There's no right or wrong around it. All I'm saying is when you start to move out of a third dimensional consciousness and step into a more quantum space, you'll understand that there is no healing or clearing of past lives. And there is no healing or clearing of karmic cycles. There just isn't, for me, in my reality. But everybody is allowed to have their own paradigms and their own realities and their own beliefs and their own experiences around it, right? So there's tons of people that have had really powerful experiences in clearing past lives. So I'm not taking that away whatsoever. My God, no way. I honor all paradigms and all, karmic cycles, but When you were, if you ever dropped into the body when it was in a 5D consciousness, you had past lives in those 5D fields, but there wasn't a karmic cycle. There wasn't a karmic cycle when in 5D. There wasn't healing past lives in 5D. How come? How come there wasn't healing in past lives in 5D? You're still connected to those past lives. You still had those horrific past lives. Perhaps, maybe not. Who knows? Or maybe really good past lives. Probably not horrific past lives. If it was in 5D. Right? But you're not carrying along things and dropping it into the next 5D lifetime. It doesn't work that way. But that's just my belief, and that's just my knowingness, and it doesn't have to work for you. And you don't have to buy into it at all. That's the beauty of paradigms and belief systems and our own unique consciousness, right? And being able to say to the person, like, awesome, you're going to clear past lives? Beautiful. Do you clear past lives? No, I don't. Do you have karmic cycles? No, I don't. I still do. That's okay. Maybe you will forever. Maybe I will. Maybe I all of a sudden will, right? It doesn't matter. None of it really matters. You know what I mean? Okay, I think I'm almost done. Chloe said, The Journey of Souls by Michael Newton explains past lives really well. I think I'm losing my energy, you guys. Shannon. Let's see. Where's Shannon? I'm currently grieving the death of an ex-boyfriend. I left him and our home suddenly over a year ago. I'm not sure how to navigate grieving versus swimming in feelings. Really good question, Shannon. Okay. All right. Hi, Stephen. Let's see. When I start to run out of juice, I get tired. Okay. Shannon is grieving her ex-boyfriend, the death of him. Okay, so when you're swimming, the difference between navigating the emotion and being kind of consumed in it, right? I think grieving has a place in and of itself. I think it's allowed to just be however it's experienced. I don't know if there's a way to actually get out of swimming in that. But I do know that with grieving, it's not, you don't necessarily get consumed by it. It just shows up in whatever moment that it's starting to show up in. And you just dive into it and feel it. And it's intense, right? And what I've noticed with grief and grieving a loved one is that when it comes strong. And I've never found myself swimming in it in the sense of being like just drowning in it where I am wallowing in it. I don't think you can wallow in grief in the same way that you wallow in kind of other emotions that you don't necessarily need to be wallowing in, right? I think with grief, it can feel like you're swimming in it because it is so intense and it's not going anywhere. There could be days on end where you're just feeling it throughout your day. So, Shannon, I don't know if it's necessary. I don't think you need to be hard on yourself that you're swimming in it. I think you just need to feel it as it's coming. And if it feels like you're swimming and it's only because it's with you 7 out of the 24 days, there are 24 hours, right? Or, it's on your mind and in your heart and in your body for the next 2 hours straight. Grieving is allowed to have its own way of being, I think, in the body and in consciousness. I think it's allowed to have its own way of going. And, you know, there's no right or wrong way of allowing grief to be. And to put a box on it or to put a way in which you're supposed to grieve is a horrible disservice to the human. So take the pressure off of yourself that there is something you may or may not be doing around grieving. It's not the same as ascension symptoms of healing and clearing and purging, okay? It's not. It's an earthquake of emotion that comes and goes randomly out of the blue, nowhere, and then boom, here it is, gone, boom, here it is, and it can take you over, right? It can knock you out. So I hope that helps. Don't put pressure on yourself that you're doing it wrong or that you're swimming in it, because grief can feel like you're swimming in it and that you can't get out. But grief is just energy as well, and it does move. It always is shifting. It's always shifting. So there will come a time where it won't be so intense all the time, right? Don't let anyone tell you how to grieve. Hell no. No freaking way. Don't let anyone tell you how to grieve. You grieve the way you want to grieve, the length of time you want to grieve. You scream, you kick, you cry, you eat, you watch the movies, you do whatever, you take the time off, you do whatever you need to grieve. Grief, I think, is one of the most, I mean, I hate to say it amazing, but it is a pretty amazing consciousness to feel. It's a massively potent consciousness to feel. So, and for those of us that have experienced grief, how do you not have respect and honor for those that are going through it, you know? Sending you a big hug, Shannon. All right, for the sake of my own absolute exhaustion, thanks, Angel, for being here live. Okay, you guys, I do want to say, thanks, Faye. I do want to say, you guys, if you're interested, that the online community I'm starting will be open for registration on the 23rd. So like, meaning you can go on and sign up for it. And I am so excited. I cannot be more excited for this community. I'm so excited for this community. I'm still going to do the YouTube lives every 2 weeks. So that's not going away. I'm still going to do that. It's still happening. It's still free. It's still every 2 weeks, but I'm opening up a community online, subscription based. So you pay every month, right? But it's going to be contained and it's going to be awesome. We're going to come together and be able to really be authentic and share and be vulnerable and raw. And I show up minimum of 3 times live each week, or each month, not each week, each month. I do a free mini session with one of the subscribers every month, channeled information, live Q&As, all kinds of stuff. I'm just so freaking excited for it. It's going to be $23 a month. And it's going to be on Patreon. So that's the platform that I've decided to use because it's the easiest. Because I can put everything there and you just go on and join, you subscribe, or you can unsubscribe, whatever you want, doesn't matter. But it's going to be fun. So the 23rd is when I'm going to launch it. It'll be available for people to sign up. You can always sign up and be like, this is not so cool, and then check out, right? But it'll be a really great community, so much support, so much love, and more interaction with me, which I love and which I want. So anyway, the 23rd September. All right, you guys, I think I'm going to go. I don't think I have any more energy. Do I have any? Should I do one more question? I cannot answer a twin flame question right now. Naradam Ross, can you come back on the 24th and ask your question? Because I don't want to go into twin flames right now, but I will go into twin flames because I have a twin flame and I have extensive experience with twin flames. So Neridum Rose. Come back on the 24th or any other live that I do until then, and ask that question again, okay? Because I'm not going there. too complicated or too simple, but a lot there. Okay, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for all your love. If you want to join my journey with the Pleiadians, it's on the 20th. You can sign up. It's $33. Pleiadians are so excited to connect with us. They love, 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 love us. They're going to bring in messages and activate the heart center, and who knows what else they're going to do. But you'll be able to feel them. If you've never felt the Pleiadians, join us, because they are going to come in strong, just like the Syrians did. This month it's the Pleiadians for September. So yeah, I'm excited for that. September 20th, the link will be down below, $33 an hour, live on Zoom. What else, you guys? Anything else? I love you. I love you all. I'm so glad we cannot go through this alone, that we get to go through this together, if you know what I mean. We get to go through it together. And remember, you are a rock star, no matter what it looks like, no matter what you're feeling, no matter what you're experiencing, no matter what pains you're having, no matter what grief you're going through, no matter what, you're a freaking rock star. Please remember that. Please, okay? You are. You're a gift. You're courageous. You're amazing. You dropped into human form. You decided to do this. And you're shifting into higher frequencies. Every single day, you're shifting into a higher frequency, even when you are feeling dense consciousness. Remember, reframe it, right? When you're having those ascension symptoms that you don't like, reframe it. Be grateful for them. Say, come on, bring it on, bring it on. The more you bring on, the more I'm going to shift. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Anger, rage, frustration, traumas, whatever. Let's go. I'm ready. I want to shift. I'm ready. Let's do it. Reframe it. And then get conscious, get conscious, get conscious, get conscious. How conscious can I be of everything? Okay. That is it. I love you guys. And I will see you on the 24th. And I'll probably jump on live a couple times before that. So if you hit the little bell by the subscribe, you'll get notified when I go live. Yeah, for sure. I will. Okay. I love you guys. Be gentle with yourselves. And I'll see you next time. Mwah! Bye-bye.